Welcome to the annual Day of Reason. Thank you. The annual Day of Reason event is hosted by Minnesota Atheists. It is held on the same day as the Day of Prayer. As you may have seen, there's a bunch of individuals with good intentions praying on the front steps of the state capitol building. We are here today to show that not everybody believes in the power of prayer, and there is a secular voice to be heard. We believe, as atheists, we believe in reason. And our next candidate is running for the U.S. Senate. Thank you. For the Green Party candidate, Paula Overby.
Thank you. Yes, well, you know who I am. I just want to share some of my values with me. I'm an organizer for the Third Party Movement, the Third Party Coalition in Minnesota. We've been organizing for quite a while for the 2016 election. 2018. As a young child, I learned about a loving God through songs and pageants and miraculous stories of popular biblical events. As I entered my teen years, that loving God was replaced by a jealous God. And at the same time, I started realizing that I wasn't at all like the other boys. The school I was at separated me from the girls who I'd always known as my peers. And at that point in my life, my concept of faith in God and my values began to diverge. I can define my faith values in terms of a passage from the book of Matthew in the Protestant Bible. And that's, whatever you have done for the least among you, the hungry, the thirsty, the lonely, the naked, the sick, and the imprisoned, you have done for me. Now, some religious groups will argue that the least among us is just a select group of God's chosen ones. But I know that morality and social responsibility extends beyond the limits of religious doctrine. My faith in fundamental human rights transcends religious organizations. If policy was based on my faith, we wouldn't be engaged in endless wars or have millions unable to access health care, or have the largest incarceration rate in the world. We wouldn't be worshiping wealth and creating poverty and destroying our environment. So I ask, what's the proper intersection of faith and politics? Our Constitution has decreed that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. But in 1878, the Supreme Court in Reynolds versus United States ruled against polygamy. They were fearful of endorsing a full range of religious practices, including things like human sacrifice. And the court argued to permit this would be to make the professed doctrines of religious belief superior to the law of the land, and in effect, to permit every citizen to become a law unto himself. But that's exactly what's happening in America today. Through a series of Supreme Court decisions, including Citizens United, SpeechNow.org, Burwell versus Hobby Lobby, the Supreme Court has decided that corporations have the same constitutional rights as an individual citizen. Through the free exercise clause of the Constitution, they have decided that a corporation can disobey the laws of the land through a religious belief, which faces absolutely no challenge of merit. I don't know how a legal entity like a corporation can be sentient enough to hold a religious belief. And I'm thinking perhaps it's a precursor to granting sentient rights to robots so the oligarchy can manufacture millions of votes on the assembly line. Now, I admit that's a bit of futuristic dystopianism, but there is a point. An unquestioning faith in technology can have its own set of risks, and there is the potential to be used in destructive and abusive ways. It is like Ian Malcolm said in the popular fantasy film Jurassic Park. Your scientists were so busy worrying about whether or not they could, they didn't stop and think if they should. Religious doctrine has no bearing on how I would govern. I'm a data analyst. I reason by what I can observe. And I see a government being replaced by a corporate monarchy. I see the erosion of civil rights and due process through increased government surveillance and internet censorship. I see police with authority to gun people down in the streets. I see an entire generation of young people graduating into indentured servitude to that same corporate monarchy by unreasonable levels of debt. And I see our own children at risk of being shot dead in their own schools. Our wars are not making us free. Shareholder value is not solving our healthcare crisis. Prisons are not keeping us safe. We're not realizing the fruits of our labor, and the pursuit of profits should not come at the expense of our shared environment. I'm running for U.S. Senate for the future of our young people. I'm running for the U.S. Senate because I think it's time to put our house in order so that our children will have a home. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula Overby. And thank you to all the candidates who came out today to address our audience and the camera, and for all those candidates that sent in their written response, and also for James Everett for giving our welcome. Thank you. And with that, we are out of time, so thank you for attending this year's Day of Reason.